Look at this speed. It resembles early shape because normally they don't have this leaf shape normally. Some of them, few of them of later period as this ones has this leaf shape.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. And again, like the blades are all, I'm not saying they're all different because clearly if there's thousands of them, there's a lot that are identical or more or less identical to other ones. But the conceptual setup of these is very innovative. Like maybe in one area like leaf-shaped blades and another area like tapered blades or blades shaped like a long tongue or something like that. I mean, the one next to the leaf-shaped blade also has quite a broad, smooth, curved shape to the blade, whereas
this one.
Yeah. Whereas the ones in the middle are more, to use a technical term, stabby.
Look at the point, Pete. Look at the tip of the blade.
Yeah, they're strong blades with a good point. Again, that constriction in the grip, which may have been to help direct it with the finger or possibly even the base of the thumb. I mean, you know, people that do, we can't quite imagine what the fighting was like because they may have been holding big shields and just stabbing each other. There is in Mycenaean Greece, they actually found very, very long bronze sword blades, but whether they were efficient to use is a different matter. These are strong and efficient, and it makes you wonder because, you know, Romans used big shields and short swords because you're getting close and it's quite practical.
You want to hear a nice joke about that?
Mm-hmm.
You see that? Oh, how can we derive the techniques? Yeah, I mean, this is hard from this time. Yeah, because but then the guy goes, really? What about the miniatures? Miniatures from Luristan? What are you talking about?
Oh, that would be good.
Exactly, that would be good, right?
No, but there are sometimes bronze plaques with people on them doing things. When I was doing research on archery in Iran, I found a paper and they had all these little stone carvings of people holding bows. That were really early, and I'm going, you know, why don't more people know about this? I mean, it's the thing we're doing here is just making people aware that this material, I mean, this is in Germany. It's relatively easy to get to go and see this. In Iran, there's even more because the value is greater because there's context to where they were found and how old they were and things like that. Whereas the ones that were looted and then sold on the international market, you don't really know where they came from, and you can't tell whether, for instance, a bronze sword will last 1,000 years. Is it contemporary with the grave it was found in, or is it something that was handed down in a family and eventually buried with somebody who was considered to be worthy to have such an ancient and magical weapon? Because, you know, we've got all these stories about magical swords, and I think some of them might go back to the Bronze Age, not the individual story, but the concept of magical swords. Because, I mean, you know, bronze swords do survive rather well. I mean, not all of them. I mean, that would be lovely if they all did.
Yeah, some of them get bronze disease. If they get it, ooh, that's difficult, right? They get pulverized.
I remember I found a museum pamphlet conserving, or it was a small book published by the West Australian Museum, and it explained how to treat objects that have bronze disease and what you do and how you change the chemical structure and you know, and I printed it out and sent it to a German professor I'd been introduced to. He actually worked in Japan at the Goethe Institute there. He was very interested in archery, and he had some really old bronze arrowheads that were deteriorating. So I sent him the article, and I got an email back a year later saying, I've tried this out and it saved all the arrowheads. They've got their surfaces has gone back to flat. I mean, they're patinaed, obviously. And I thought, see, museums are really valuable in preserving this stuff. It can come out of the ground, and if there's a lot of moisture in the ground, really complex, well, maybe complex to me, chemical processes take place that pull the metal apart, basically, and turn it into green, messy dust eventually. So that there are ways of resuscitating bronze objects with bronzes. You never get back to their original state, but you can stop them from deteriorating further, and you can sometimes reveal the underlying shape that's been covered by incrustation and things like that. So museums are always doing research to make these things better. What they did 100 years ago, they don't do anymore because they found better ways of doing that cause less damage to the original object. It's always important to keep up to date with this. If you're in a position where you have to look after one of these objects or whatever, it's well worthwhile going to the trouble of checking up on what the latest technique is to save these things.
So this is this one which has these, semicircular one.
And that seems to be related to the rib down the center of the blade. So it's part of a design that goes together. I wonder if that was also to help you. I mean, when you've got it in your hand to hold the blade, so you've got the blade crosswise for
definitely contributes to that. Definitely.
Yeah. Not just art, it's practical.
No. So we have here more. Look at this one.
Yeah, see, this to me yells Khanjali. I think to a European, Khanjali has a very curved blade, but it has a grip that's got a big crescent-shaped top. To a European medievalist, he'd be thinking of things like basillards and stuff like that.
Unbelievable.
If you've seen excavations from Syria and what was Canaan, which is now Israel-Palestine area, there's daggers that have that general shape too. And so it was widespread, possibly highly regarded. It might have been a prestige thing to say you've got one of these daggers, but definitely for stabbing, not for anything else, because they're not practical really for anything else. That looks like it's got a 2-rivet connection to the blade too.
Here, yes, exactly.
Yeah, which I think is quite common with blades with these elaborate handles. I mean, that one seems to have been cast with slots going completely through it for decorative purposes.
Yeah,
maybe to light it. That's really a very sophisticated one.
There's a cast-on method, definitely, and then they have this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's right. Very nice.
Very, very sophisticated. Strong blade shape.
Look at the more. These are okay. These types we have excavated items. These definitely, these ones, and look at the shape of them. We have from Marlik the same northern types as I mentioned. That these ones. You see that this one, the way it looks differently. Most of them come from northern Iran. So there was also in Marlik or in Gilan, in Mazandaran, many areas in Tafresh, there were also centers of weapon making as big as in Luristan.
And this design didn't just stay in Iran, because I've seen excavated daggers in Korea. Early Bronze Age Korea, where you start to see things like that, even to the inlays in the blades. And so this kind of went everywhere. This is a kind of, somebody comes up with a good idea in the Bronze Age and it travels, because bronze travels well. You don't have to do a lot to preserve it.
So for our viewers, please take a look at them. These ones, these are cast on methods. So they first do with the tank. As you know, you can see it also in my book as well, the explanation. They do it with the tank. Then they put another mold and cast on the handle on top of the tank. This is
So
this
you
method.
can optimize the metal alloy for the
Yes.
blade separately
Yes.
from what you're making the handle from.
Exactly. That's the whole idea behind it. And
Yeah.
these ones is that instead of having a tank and perishable material, you have that and you put inlay. So those tanked ones was the early technology. Then the
Mhm.
second one is this technology. The third one is this technology. So,
Yeah.
but again, as in Iranian archaeological report, we have seen it again and again. It doesn't mean that one technology completely makes the other technology outdated. So
Yeah.
it's very important to take, oh, this tanks is much earlier. This is not that simple, guys, because even when they had this technology, which was very advanced, they still produced tanked ones. So it's very important to take this into consideration based on
Oh,
archaeological evidence, right?
I think it probably relates also to the level, like a cast on handle requires probably a bigger industrial base than just
Yes.
making a tang and fitting handles to it. Um, and also the balance would be different because on handle is a lot heavier than
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
say a horn handle or something like that you put a
Absolutely.
tang in. So it might even indicate different ways of fighting with them if
Yes.
when they're being used for fighting. Um, what strikes me is the outlines, like the silhouettes of these, look quite modern, like something. And by modern, I'm comparing it to when these are, not to modern times, but
Of course.
like like some of the late Bronze Age uh, weapons and that the kind of that double rib design on the one and two reminds me a lot of Chinese bronze swords, but it's different in the sense that they're a solid handle with discs cast into it. And those discs are to take a binding, and that binding goes over those things and it forms a better grip for holding the blade. In these ones, they're just doing it with the bronze by the looks of things, and you put an inlay in for decorative purposes,
Yes.
but you've got this kind of thing of giving you a firmer grip, which I think is, design wise, I think it's quite a good thing.
Look at them,
Oh, you
please.
look at them. Yeah, they're. I'll say one thing. I think in this case, it's a lot to do with design. I think these would be stunning with their original
Yeah.
inlays. I think this would
Stunning.
really stand out. And
Stunning.
yeah, this is all maybe more for visual impact than, but still it's practical. But the visual impact of these with say ivory or bone or even horn
Yes.
inlays
Guys,
would
we
be.
really hope to just make you also interested in ancient items because many of our viewers, of course, they're interested in later items still. And these guys, these technology of arms and armor, also ancient technology is magnificent, right? So,
Yeah. Well, I think that the malleability of being able to cast things in bronze meant that they explored a lot of ideas that didn't turn up until much later, because when you're working with your basic iron, low carbon steel, and then on to higher carbon steel, it's quite difficult to
yeah,
do complicated things like this. And they could do this 100 times because the
yes,
mold, it's
yeah.
just the mold. You just cast more bronze into the mold. You don't have to recarve everything every time.
Yes,
So
exactly.
even though bronze is expensive, it's economical in the sense that you can do complicated things in it
Yes.
repetitively.
Look at the handles. This is this cast on northern type as we
Yeah.
talked about it. Look at this one.
So
Unbelievable.
it's like they thought of the earlier handles with the bone pommels and everything, and they said, "Wow, we just do it in bronze.
Yeah.
Do the whole thing in bronze, save time."
Yes. Yes.
Uh, I'm guessing the handles may have been lost wax castings
Yes. It is
because there's
indeed.
undercuts there that you couldn't easily do. I mean, the Chinese did it with multi-part clay molds, but that was exceptionally complicated.
Yes.
It produced great stuff, but it was a very complex way of doing it. These, on the other hand, I could see um, that lost wax would work really well with these. So you get your blade with its tang, and then you carve the handle out of wax, and
Yeah,
then you dip it in slip until it's completely covered in clay and make holes and whatnot, and heat it up until the wax melts.
yeah.
And when it's hot and the wax is completely evaporated, you pour the bronze in, and then it runs into all the things and wraps itself around the tang,
Mhm.
and you get this exquisite dagger.
Exquisite, really. I really love that.
Yeah,
Okay, they're
they're-
just, we saw them before, just a close up of these ones. B, this one, as you kindly explained, reminds of these later Indian ones, right? This dagger
yeah, the Cantonese.
handle.
I've got one in
Unbelievable.
the other room. I'm not going to get it out because I think it would detract from these because these
Yes,
are much, much earlier. And
much.
but again, look at this really solid rib down the center of the blade, which allows you to make the blade very thin on the sides so it cuts very well, but it also means that it's very good for stabbing, which is what it's designed for. Though maybe you could cut like with a jambia type
Yeah.
dagger where you kind of you grab the guy by his hair and you pull it
Yeah.
across his foot. I think that these are, again are close fighting, but they're for close fighting. But I think they also must have had a symbolic thing like Keris do in Indonesia, where this is the symbol of your manhood, or in Yemen, like Jambiya in Yemen.
Yeah.
So I think this is it may be really, really, really old, but I think
Yeah.
it embodies a lot of things that were still being used.
And now we go there. So now
Yeah.
please take a look. The handles get more and more complicated. So it's very interesting.
So they're pierced through and hollow in places, and
Yes.
yeah, this is extremely sophisticated.
Yeah,
And
really.
you can imagine people in the 18th century making things like this because it's so elaborate, and this is how you show off how sophisticated and wealthy you are. But these are before the 18th century BCE. So
I
yeah,
really
this is
want to mention something. Guys, stop saying primitive technology for using Bronze Age
oh
items.
no, there's nothing primitive about bronze technology.
Exactly. Look at
The
the
thing how
sophistication.
quickly they went from making something that effectively mimicked a stone knife, but with smooth edges and that, to something that is completely invented from its own ideas. This shape of handle in number 4 is clearly related to number 3 to a degree, and
Yeah.
clearly related to earlier handles, but it's a whole new idea. I mean, they've
Yes.
completely revolutionized the design. It's still just a handle on a knife or a sword, but it's very sophisticated, and the
Very.
person who owned it would be very proud of it.
Yes. Look at these ones as well.
Mm.
Look,
So you
this
get
is
this,
this one as well. Yeah.
yeah, they're starting to look more modern in the sense,
Yes.
but again, I'm talking maybe, like the early Iron Age or something like that. They're kind of very practical looking. I mean, some of them are more decorative than others, but yeah, to me that looks like again, very practical. Oh, here we've got
So you
what
see,
looks like axe blades with
yes,
a little animal on the back.
yes, exactly. This is
Sweet.
an, but we'll come back to axes later on. Please take a look at these ones.
So these are separate handles that have survived when the blade hasn't.
Separate. Okay, I just need to say they experimented as well when they started with iron. So we have bronze handles. We have also excavated an existing extant iron blade, be metallic, bimetallic ones as well. We have that.
Yeah.
That's very beautiful. That they have these
Yeah, that
combination of both.
seems to have been an early idea because they still like the elaborate handles,
Yes.
but they liked iron blades, and it's just you don't do that with iron until you get to cast iron. In China, they did something in reverse, like in the Warring States period, which was like the 500s or something to the 200s BCE. Uh, they started casting bronze armor-piercing arrowheads onto iron tangs. Because why waste precious bronze on the tang when you can make it out of iron and it's completely enclosed in the arrow, so it's not going to be exposed to the air or anything like that, and nobody can see it. So the very tip, I've got somewhere I've got a couple of these. The very tip is bronze. It's shaped into a three-sided pyramid. It's got grooves in the surface. It's very elaborate. It's designed to punch through bronze armor or whatever. But the tang is a cylindrical rod of iron that the bronze has been cast over, which is something like what was happening with the iron blades. But here they were using the iron to structurally connect the arrowhead to the bamboo shaft, whereas there they say we really like iron blades, but we really like highly decorative handles. So we're going to combine them. Oh,
these are definitely Nordic types. In Marlik, we have found Dr. Izzat Negahban excavated many of them, the late Dr. Izzat Negahban. I really love these handles. Mushroom shaped, as they call it, right?
Yeah, well, this is like yeah. What I'm looking at is the one on the left.
Yeah.
The mushroom shape is probably hollow because of that hole I can see there.
Yeah.
Which is probably good. The one on the right, if that's solid, that means that the point of balance of that sword would be right there. I mean, when the blade was in place. Because bear in mind that if it had an iron blade, the iron blade would be quite light compared to the comparable bronze blade. I mean, not really ribbed. I'm looking at the other one. Those downturn things, I don't think are quillins. I think they actually grip the blade.
Yes.
Because I've seen surviving ones with blades where you can see that they've carried the handle down the edges of the blade.
I mean, among bronze iron designs, I mean, I love different designs, but definitely these mushroom shapes is one of my favorite designs. Maybe because I'm prejudiced and biased, because they remind me of like later swords with a pommel.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. There's a lot to be said for their kind of being ahead of their time in that sense. I'm not sure, but is there kind of like a zigzag or a key pattern on the one on the right along the crossguard there, like incised into it, or is
Here,
that just
this one? Here?
no, further down, right at the bottom?
Here, yeah, there are.
Yeah.
There are.
So that's got an incised pattern on it as well.
It is, yes.
Yeah, see, this is amazing. The one on the left also has little nubs to make sure you've got a firm grip on it.
Yes,
Maybe
grip,
it had a leather binding on it to make them less prominent, but then the nubs are to hold the binding so it doesn't move.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's again, this is just if that was sitting on your desk, you'd be really happy having it there just as a work of art.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Without any connection to it. So, I mean, bronze founders out there, you should that get to see this. You should think seriously about going through some of these books and that to find these things and just see, or go to the museums if you're much luckier. I mean, you know, if you're near this museum, it'd be worthwhile going in because when you see things in 3 dimensions, it's a big difference. And if you're a maker who wants to make a reproduction and you get to see the real thing in 3 dimensions, you're going to make a much better.
This is a really long one, really long sword, bronze sword, really long.
Is that like kind of slightly hollow ground?
Yes, hollow cast. Yes.
This is all bronze.
Yes.
So therefore, that shape has been cast in. Though hollow grinding is a process that you actually get differently. So they chose that shape because they thought it was a really good shape. It's got it's quite a complex shape too, because hollow grinding has benefits, but it was an accidental byproduct of using round grinding wheels and running the blade backwards and forwards to kind of smooth it out. And then you get this kind of concave surface on either side of the rib, which then becomes very decorative, but also very practical because you can bring the thickness of the center of the sword blade down to the edge to produce a very fine edge, but still have a strong sword. Oh, that's really nice. Here's ones where you can see those quillion-like pieces of the handle wrapping the blade that they're actually to protect your hand from the top of the blade.
Yes. Here
Yes.
you go.
And,
Here. Yeah, here as
yeah.
well.
And so you get a chance to see what those handles were like on real blades. And the blades are quite strong looking too.
Strong blades, yes.
Yeah.
Strong. Possibly this one used to have a pommel made of a perishable material, possibly.
Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking when I see these in archaeological journals and that, particularly when there's just a tang left, it's very difficult to tell the difference between a large dagger blade and a spear blade,
Yeah, it is
unless you've got
very difficult. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very
and
difficult.
people have often wondered whether the dagger blades are in fact descendants of the spear blades in the
Very
sense
good
that
point.
they made spears first and then somebody's spear broke and they said, well, this is a good weapon. I'm not
Very
going to
good
throw
point.
this away. Oh, even more elaborate. Yeah.
Yeah. Very beautiful. There's so many of them.
Yeah, this is exceptional.
Exceptional.
Really.
And they
Stuff.
have a very large collection of ancient Iranian items, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is where the archaeologists were going.
The
And I mean, European archaeologists went to Iran. I mean, this stuff came on the market before the archaeologists got there.
yes.
Um, and so
Pete, you
sometimes,
will love that one. Bronze handle, iron blade, and original scabbard. We have
so
also
that's the
excavated
original bronze.
items.
Well, that's amazing. That really is.
Yeah, these the
Uh,
scabbards we have excavated in Iran, and always, you know. And the question is always for us: is this type, which looks like a needle, was
mm.
always bent, or was it straight and bent? But in Iranian examples, are also bent.
Yeah, look, it gives it a very elegant shape if it's bent. If it's straight, you've got to ask yourself, are you going to jab yourself with it? Whereas if
Yeah,
it's bent, I think it's safer.
yeah.
Occupational health and safety rule 173. When you make a dagger I think that might be safer than having it straight.
Yes,
Uh,
look at this. Isn't it beautiful? Few of them kept their scabbards, but they had scabbards, guys, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really nice. I mean, obviously, a lot of ones just had wood and leather covered scabbards, but
Yes, yes,
really
definitely.
top stuff, you would have got a bronze
Yes,
scabbard, mate.
yes, that wooden, yes, most.
Again, the like having like a little curved rat tail on the bottom of the scabbard is something I had not conceived of as an idea. But when you're wealthy and you can command people to do things, you can
Yes,
pick and choose your own ideas.
very nice. Yeah. And this
Oh,
one as well, very nice, right? You see that?
wow.
Look, so many beautiful shapes, huh?
Yeah, I mean, this is getting me. These are kind of like if you were a designer looking for shapes to make things, you could go back through this and you'd come up with dozens of ideas.
Yeah, honestly.
Uh, I must say that I'm quite fascinated by this very flat, solid rib down the center of the blades, which is clearly to make a strong blade.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and that handle looks very ergonomic from the
yes.
point of view of stabbing or cutting. Again, I look at these and when I went through your book, well, I've gone through it several times because it got a lot of useful information to people like me. Um, I was impressed by how much these look like the European and Spanish
Yes,
15th
they do.
century daggers. I mean, they are so similar.
They do.
Um,
They really do.
I mean, even in North Africa, they had in the 15th, 16th, 17th century, they had dagger hilts that was something like this.
Pete,
And
take a
and
look at this one. Remains
is
of an iron blade.
oh,
Most of
another
these handles, which are existing, they were not replacement handles. They had iron blades, which, well, oxidized and disappeared. Yeah.
yeah, that's impressive. And it also means you're looking at a lot of bronze production, but we're actually in the Iron Age now.
Yes, we are.
And they had again. I get the feeling that there was so much metal available in these areas that everywhere else they say, "Oh, we'll just go to plain things," and these guys are saying, "No, no, we got more bronze. We'll just make the handles out of bronze." And of course,
You know,
it changes the balance.
and the point which you brought up And I really want to go back to it. And you mentioned that talking, and it's not a criticism of some European colleagues of mine. European colleagues of mine always say, "Oh, bronze was such a precious item." And for example, if you had a bronze sword, it was like having a gold piece of gold. And then I
Yeah.
always asked myself, I mean, here in Iran, there are bronze items like hordes of them, you know?
Well, yeah, if you're living in the area where there's a huge amount of this being produced, then clearly uh, this is a great advantage for you. My feeling about some of this is that the I think in areas where not a lot of bronzes survive, that the perception of archaeologists is that it's more valuable than it possibly was. I think particularly England and Ireland, where there was a whole period where they thought Bronze Age swords of the Middle and Early Bronze Age were not actually weapons; they were just status symbols.
Do you
And you've got
realize there is one stylistic feature? Although there is no need for this part, which holds those perishable material, they still kept that, right? Although there is no need
yeah,
for it.
because hey, this is how you make knives. I mean, there's a lot of things in modern knives that are like archaic in the sense that they existed on previous knives, but they're not necessary on modern knives.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you see it particularly in art knives, where there's a lot of things that, well, in some cases, people make reproduction swords that have features that no original sword ever had because that feature is something they've seen somewhere and they like it. And I think
Yes,
in ancient times, people were pretty much the same. Swords are always like that. Oh, but we don't have that ivory insert anymore. Yeah, but it looks good.
it looks good. Yes, exactly. And here, oh, these are these Nordic types, right?
Mhm.
I really love them.
Yeah,
Look,
that's
Pete,
that's
the mushroom is actually now completely pierced through, right? Look at
yeah,
this.
it's gone on to a new life. But we still have that curving down over the base of the blade,
Yeah, here.
which
Mhm.
obviously protects your hand.
Yeah,
Uh,
here.
and I mean, I think that reappears a couple of thousand years later in swords, maybe in I'm thinking Omani swords and early Arab swords, like in the Rashidun
Yes,
period, something like that. I think that keeps reoccurring in that general area. I mean, we're talking
yes,
a few thousand kilometers, so
yes,
it's a big area. But
yes.
these ideas, these design features.
Beat, take a look at this one and this one. This is completely bronze. And look at
Mhm.
this one, bronze handle, iron blade.
It's amazing because we've got a kind of this is the crossover, isn't it? This is people are still making the bronze ones because people. I mean, it's a good thing. It doesn't rust. Oh, this iron one, the iron, once they learn how to smelt it, it's cheaper than bronze.
Yes.
We can do things. It takes a really good edge. And maybe for the first, you know,
Yes.
300, 400 years, there wasn't a lot of performance difference between the two. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're clashing blade to blade, yeah, there's a big difference. But it's not a fatal difference. If you're just blade to flesh or blade to clothes, a sharp bronze sword is just as good as a sharp iron sword.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
when I say iron, I'm not talking about like just pure iron, which is not really good as a sword, but low carbon steel
Yes.
effectively is
Yeah,
what I'm
that's what
talking
we mean with iron, actually. Yeah, exactly.
so you've got to ask yourself if you've got the money or the availability of bronze, because bear in mind, you can take an old bronze sword and recast it as a new bronze sword. So that's total recycling with
Yeah.
bronze. Whereas with iron, not so much. Not until, making cast iron became popular, which, was second
And
century
yes.
BCE in China and well into the late Middle Ages,
Pete,
early
look at
industrial.
these Luristan examples. Some of them also we have in Iranian museums get really long.
Yeah,
Really long.
and the technology of casting something that long is quite advanced because you've got to keep the mold hot. Otherwise, if the mold isn't hot, the hot metal flowing in it starts to cool differentially as it's going down the slot. So you've got to have a very good understanding about how casting works and what metal does when it's flowing and that, which is not a simple thing. This is high grade skill. I mean, modern casters know all these things because they can read about them in a book. But, 3,000 years ago, not so easy.
Yes.
You got your granddad taught you or whatever. It would probably have passed down in families. It would be a master to apprentice kind of thing, because, well, that's how people did things in the good old days. But yeah, they're long and slender. Still look fairly strong though.
Very strong.
The blades have got strong cross sections.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. You see some more, right?
Mm-hmm. Is number 2, is that another bronze blade, or is it a scabbard next to it?
Scabbard of that one.
So they have long bronze scabbards. See,
yes.
This is impressive because casting, well, I'm guessing they may have cast the scabbard flat and then annealed it and bent it into shape, rather than just casting it in the round. It's definitely possible, but it's a lot of work.
It was like the one we saw before. Do you remember? It was just bent.
Yeah, folded. That was such an elegant solution because that fold completely protects the edge from cutting you. I mean, it's not the greatest way of protecting the edge of keeping it sharp, but it certainly will protect it from cutting you.
Yes.
Do you notice the design is like the one that's number 3? It's almost Art Nouveau. The design has progressed. It's become more angular. It's more simplified, but still strong. Whereas the one next to that, which is it seems to have animal heads on the curved down part that would be a crossguard if it was a crossguard, but it's not. So the two different design trends, one more abstract, one more realistic or naturalistic. I think it's probably a better word than realistic. It's like this continuous flood of ideas that people are having as they do this.
Yes. We move now to the to the next one. Sorry, I just kicked us out. What did I do? To the next one. Sorry. And the next one is iron. And these iron swords, and I'm sure this is missing this part, right? I'm sure in my book you've seen very good examples also from Iranian museums. These iron mask swords. They are cast iron. Some of them they differ between 8 to 16 parts of the handle they cast on, and they make it complicated.
Wow. See, this is somebody who purchases one of these or orders it to be made in the royal workshops or whatever, is just showing off how wealthy they are.
Absolutely.
We're making something that we're going to use in battle and whatever, but we're making it in such a way to show off what control we have.
They have some of them lion hat, some of them they're told like demon hat, lion hat, combination of them here on the handle, then on top of the pommel. It's unbelievably something unbelievable.
Yeah. And this was making a statement within their society to say how important and powerful they were. It wasn't somebody said to himself, "Gee, I'd like one with 2 leopard's heads and everything." These are every part of that design probably had a specific meaning and said something to the people involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff.
Impressive. Oops, sorry. So let us just go. I mean, these are iron, as you can see that, but we can move on here. Look at this bead. Bronze and iron handle. Look at this. This part cast on bronze, and now the iron, excuse me, I say handle, sorry, iron blade. Yeah. Isn't it beautiful? And look at this bead. It's a nose, it's eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a face, a mask.
Yeah. And you know what it reminded me of? I know, I have, as you know, that in Spanish, I have done lots of interviews with colleagues and professors from Mexico, and that I don't know, I'm tainted by Mexican Aztec style and Maya and all these things. This
Yeah.
looks like this Aztec style.
It's got, it's when you reduce an image to a few lines like that, I suppose there's only a few ways you can do it. But when you look at it, it's got such strong presence.
Very.
I mean, I'm thinking of the Pazyryk. One of the bridles had a series of faces on it, carved in wood, and they had kind of lobate beards with no mustaches.
Yes.
And I mean, they were 5th to 4th century BCE, but it's kind of like this thing of having faces became popular at different times in different places, and they sometimes look similar to other ones, and other times they look completely different. This to me it kind of looks maybe like a demon's face, or even if the kind of petals at the bottom are meant to be the mane of a lion, for instance. How
Yeah, you never know. Yeah.
No, it's too old. Too
Oh,
old to know.
or it could be like ears. It could be like ears,
Yeah,
eyes,
I was
nose,
kind of thinking that.
and look,
Sometimes
teeth.
sometimes it looks like an owl to me, like a horned owl with the big things on the top of its head.
Of course, that could also.
But then it looks like something else. It changes as you look at it what it looks like, because it's basic. It's got kind of. I mean, it looks like it may have a nose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Eyebrow.
the eyes remind me of Chinese Shang Dynasty bronze casting, where they have these really stylized eyes.